This video discusses saving images for the web. So the thing about the images is we want to size them and save them as we want them to be on our website before we put them in our site folder. You can resize things using Dreamweaver, just straight up HTML code. You can resize your image. Don't do that. It causes the browser to act like an image rendering tool, and it slows everything down and usually results in images that don't look right and a slower load time, which is super important because you don't want your viewer to get impatient with your website. And a lot of content management systems out there that don't do it properly will be, kind of resizing in the browser as it's rendering, and when that happens, you get a really slow load time. So large file sizes equal a slow download and speed, and that is the death of a website. So you get users to leave your site. So we work with three formats in web. We work with GIF or GIF, that's GIF, and we work with JPEG, JPG, and we work with PNG, PNG. Each one has its own reason to be used. So GIF, GIF, or GIF, stands for Graphic Interchange Format. So graphic, that's the thing to focus on there. And then JPEG stands for, and it's abbreviated JPG, stands for Joint Photographic Experts Group. So the general rule is you're going to use a GIF file for graphics with large areas or solid color line art, like this, large area of solid color or line art. And you're going to use a JPEG when you have something with continuous tone in a photograph. Continuous tone means you have lots of things shifting in here, like blurs and drop shadows and gradients. See how we got the shadows down there? And it's an overall photo with lots and lots of shifts in color. That's a perfect environment for a JPEG. Sometimes you save photos as GIFs if you are doing an animation or you're knocking out a background, but usually these days we use a third format called PNG. So we're going to stick with just the standards here and go over and see how to save things out and look at the different file sizes. Okay, so first let's look at this file, which should be saved as, based on what I just told you, as a GIF file. And this, so what I just hit was File, Save for Web. So when you have a layout, like, you're going to take little pieces and parts of that layout, and I'll demo that in a later video, and those little pieces and parts will be saved out as these little images. But for now, just overall, when you're working with just working with the image in general, how do you decide what to save it as? Well, here, because we have all the solid color, we'll go to File, Save for Web, which is what we will always do. And the other thing you want to make sure of, I'm sorry, I'm going back and forth here, but you want to make sure you are at a resolution of 72 pixels per inch or dots per inch. That should be what your layout's been designed in this whole time. But if you get an image, it may not be, so you'll need to change that to 72 dots per inch. So I'm going to go to Save for Web, and here we have the original. Here we're going to say GIF, and we're going to say up to 256 colors, which is the most it can do, and really there's absolutely no reason to. You could go down to 2 colors if you wanted, and if you'll notice, when I did that, well, not quite, because our watermark's been killed. When I did that, we have jaggedy edges. We went down to 5 kilobytes in size. So if we go up to 16, things start to look good, and we have 22.73 kilobytes in size. But if we choose 256, we go up just a tiny bit more, 34K, which will download at 7 seconds if someone's on a 56K connection. Usually you're looking for 5 seconds of a download, but most people are not on 56K anymore. So if you're in a quicker connection, you start going up here, you see your you're down to 4 seconds. Okay, so that's what GIF would save out as, 34. Okay, down here I'm going to just click on this and say, all right, well, what happens if I choose ping, oh sorry, not ping, JPEG, and JPEG it's still a small file, but it may not be as crisp. Usually if I'm working with something that's got font in it, even if the file's a little bit larger, I'll end up going with a GIF if I have um, to get it crisp. Um, Over here though, you might end up with things just a tiny bit blurry, and anyway, it is larger, and whenever you can save, you save. So that's what JPEG does. It's not designed for these large solid areas of color. A GIF is. It's just a totally different rendering process. Then over here we'll choose that third one that I mentioned, which is ping, and you have ping 8 and ping 24. Ping 24 is normally only used when you want semi-transparent or total transparency. And in this case it is the largest by far at 53.99K. So I want this GIF file, and I'm going to say that I like the size of it, and I'm going to save it. I would have already sized it if I didn't. And I'm going to put it in my ART190. Just put it in my project folder, and we'll call this tree. Okay, so that one's done. Well, actually, I'm going to leave it for one more thing. Then we have the stock photo, and this is the size I have it over in our site files right now, and it's not the size that we really want it to be. We want it to be smaller, so I'm going to do image size, and I know I need it to be 200 pixels wide. The resolution is 240. I'm going to change that to 72, and now look what happened up here. So we're going to put that back at 240. And there's a whole explanation as to why this stuff is happening. I assume you know Photoshop going into this, so I will not get into a whole resizing thing and how to properly do stuff and how much you should add in pixels and delete pixels and all that. But what I will tell you is if we're taking down the resolution and all that and taking things smaller, then what I usually do, here let me just do the process that I usually do it. Image size. First thing I usually do, and I make sure these are on, is I do 72, and then I look at what I've got. Now I am actually going to bump that up to 200. That's the size I've decided I want things at. And then the last thing that I'm doing is I am taking things down in size, so I'm going to choose bicubic sharper. It says best for reduction. So I'm going to say OK. Now if I double click my zoom tool, that puts things automatically at 100%. This is the size it would be on the website. So I'm going to do File, Save for Web, and there is a shortcut for this. File, Save for Web and Devices is Alt-Shift-Control-S on a PC, and it would be Option-Shift-Command-S on a Mac. And if I do what I did before and I have this as a GIF, it's 7.502K. And this will be interesting because there is a lot of white space in here, so I'm wondering, JPEG is what you should choose. And now JPEG is currently larger, but do I need it to be 100% quality with this? Probably don't. I can probably get away with like 70 and no one's even going to be able to tell. And when I do that, now I'm down to 5K. And since this is such a small image, it may seem, oh well, this is 7.5 and that's 5. But this will render the image with a better quality, and you do have this quality slider here to work with. So you can decide, you know, I mean, I can take this way down and you'll start to see that it degrades noticeably. But I'm going to go somewhere around 70 and call it good. Then our last option, of course, is that ping, which we normally use only for transparency or semi-transparency, and you can see that is 14K. So I'm going to click on JPEG, save this out. I'm putting it in my images folder. This is an iStock photo image, 14233-139 dog in protest. But now I'm going to save it as 200W, so I know it's 200 pixels wide. Normally I wouldn't keep this full name, but this is just a comp. I haven't paid for it, and I would like you guys to be able to see the proper file name if you want it. So there we go.